Hey guys, welcome back to yet another episode of Weledoy. I'm your host, Delisna Dawalko, and as you can see on your screen, I have another amazing guest in studio with me today. Well, almost. Your spirit is here. A young activist, a community leader, and also co-founder of Tigrai art collectives. If you could introduce yourself to the audience, your name, where you're from, just give me a little background of who you are.
Yeah, I'm so happy to be here. My name is Mahadratella. I go by Madi. I'm in Louisville, Kentucky, in the United States. And a little bit about me: I'm a biostatistician, data scientist. I worked on infectious disease research for a really long time, and working with insurance, and just recently got out of the healthcare and pursuing a completely different career right now, but still within data science. And like you said, I am one of the co-founders of Tigrai Art Collective, and very excited to dive in and share a little bit about my background and how it's leveraged me through this activism for Tigray.
How did you get involved and start your advocacy for Tigray and this ongoing genocide?
Oh yeah, that's a great question. It was the first time I heard about it, was through social media. And so once I heard about there being a telecommunication blackout and mom and dad telling me that they weren't able to reach family, the first thing I thought about doing was somebody had created a post, and I was like, okay, wow, I could really use my social media platform to bring awareness to what's happening in Tigray, given the fact that we didn't really have a lot of information to begin with, but what we did know at the time. And I didn't really have many followers to begin with, but I thought it was really important for me to share this with my friends. And from there, just reading newspapers and articles and reading whatever material that was being pushed out and creating videos and pushing them out on Instagram, I found the importance of it and how much attraction it was getting. A lot of people were waking up to it. Next thing you know, a lot of tagatos were following me, and they were saying the same thing. And I was like, wow, okay, so we have a community that I'm connecting with, and with that support and the education, next thing you know, I'm using my social media. I'm using Twitter. I'm using Instagram. I'm working with different organizations, everyone from HPN, Health Professionals Network for Tigray, with TPN, as well as my local community, the Tigray community of Kentucky. So this was the first way that I started out and found my way just helping other communities in how can we bring awareness? How can we utilize every single platform, every single avenue to educate not only the Tigray community, but our allies and our friends and people outside of our community?
I think that's so important. What were some ways that you coped through this Tigray genocide? I know the advocacy in itself is a lot of work, but at the end of the day, what we're facing is so much tougher. So how have you been able to cope and really just maintain within the past 16 months?
That's a really great question, because we were all shocked here in the diaspora, just as much as our people back home in Tigray and in Sudan. So to digest and really process what was happening was a really big toll on all of us. And for myself, I'm the kind of person that has to keep themselves busy. And that's exactly what I ended up doing, but keeping myself busy, but it became a distraction, right? I wasn't really focusing on really taking care of myself. I wasn't sleeping. I was up all day, up all night. I have a day job. I was neglecting my day job. I wasn't eating. I just saw that my energy was also depleted, and I wasn't exercising. I wasn't doing anything to take care of myself at all. And I felt guilty. I felt guilty about, that survivor's guilt, just feeling bad. I got lucky, that's all it was. And so that really was eating me up. And it wasn't until I believe it was after the San Francisco protest, 300-day protest. I was like, wow, okay, I really need to take care of myself. I wasn't productive at work. And that was when I really saw it. And I wanted to be better for myself, for my career. Like that mentality, I started to tell myself, I want to be better for Tigray. I got to be better. I can't, give out of an empty cup.
Right.
So I needed to replenish myself, and I took a break, and I did the same thing during the holiday season. I took about a month break, and during those breaks, I was seeking therapy, which I think is very, very important. I really want to stress that to the diaspora, and soon we will introduce that to Tigray and to those in Sudan. But therapy is something that we need to utilize, and I was able to talk to a professional, a therapist, really talk through my issues and my problems, and like, how can I better myself and improve my self-esteem. And I realized by doing so and focusing on my mental health, I was encouraged to eat. I was encouraged to work out, and I started to do boxing. And boxing was a great stress reliever for me. Like, I really enjoy it. I take out whatever kind of anger, any type of frustration.
Great way to take out aggression, for sure.
Absolutely. Boxing, yes. Oh my God, I encourage everybody. If you haven't done boxing, try it out. Like, do it. And I would walk out of the gym feeling great, and I realized I was making new friends, and like, I wasn't consuming my entire life about Tigray as much as I wanted to. Like, it's really important that I was, realizing the environment that I was in, because I became like really upset as well. Like, why isn't everybody should be talking about Tigray? Right. And that wasn't the case. That's not the reality, right? It's not the world that we live in, unfortunately.
That's honestly the saddest part about it, is that you would think at least our own neighbors within our country would be on our side, but it's also really important to emphasize that, like, as much as we wanted to consume our whole lives, and the guilt of even wanting to do something outside of the advocacy in itself is weighing enough, but this will end, right? So if we find ourselves lost in this fight, then nobody will be left standing to rebuild Tigray at the end of it. That's why it's so important to maintain that mental health, that strength. So what is one takeaway from your therapy? What was the biggest takeaway for you?
The biggest takeaway is, I think it was giving ourselves the permission to take care of our mental health. That was like, and also realizing that when I'm okay, I do better. So I think realizing that within the Black community, within the African community, the diaspora, mental health is a taboo, unfortunately. Right. And we didn't grow up in a household where mental health was encouraged. So my therapist reassured me, this, like, me taking that step was my way of wanting to improve myself. So like, just signing up for one class, and wanting to come back for more, and learning, and having somebody from the outside looking into me and showing me, like, putting a mirror in front of me was really great, because I saw like what I was saying and like trying to explain myself was really important for me to hear what I was saying about myself. Like, there was a lot of guilt, and there was a lot of pain, and there was a lot of suffering within myself, watching our people back home suffer the way that they did, and being able to explain that to somebody else, and saying, wow, okay, well, I'm talking about that I'm not eating, I'm talking about how tired I am, I'm talking about how depressed I am and how sad I am. How can I take that energy and put it somewhere else?
Right.
But first, I have to take care of myself. And I feel like, honestly, that really helped me, and she really helped me through the process. And even though I feel great, you don't only have to go through therapy just because you're okay. It's one of those things where it's great to be in check, to see where you're at, to want to improve, because it's not like you hit a checkpoint and you're done and you move on. That's not the reality. Like, our mental health is always with us.
We're always growing and evolving in every stage of our lives. It's good to have that outside perspective, because it lets you see something maybe you even missed, or it's good to have that reflection. Like you said, that mirror in front of you is vital. What would you say you learned about yourself through your advocacy throughout the year?
I learned, wow, that's a really good question. So I would say that I have a lot of different hats that I wear, which surprised me, right? I've never done anything with like what you're doing, standing in front of a camera and, you know, providing and sharing news to people. And that's what I found myself doing. I was making videos and educating people. I never used my social media platform like that. It was very much personal to myself. So, you know, what I was learning from the newspapers and what I was like watching on TV, I was regurgitating that information, making sure that I have my sources and reporting on top of that, organizing and working with, I mean, I've worked in teams before, but having to do it virtually during a pandemic with people that I didn't know, but I got to know and was able to work with. That was another thing, you know, having to work with people that you've never met before. You're having to learn their strengths and their weaknesses and wanting to learn, you know, how could you work with them? And also learning, like, as one of the leaders in many groups, was instead of telling people what to do, I enjoyed people telling me what is that they like to do, and we'll give you a place in the team, on the team.
And by doing so,
right. Yeah, that's the best way to fit. Instead, when you tell people what to do, they're not going to really do it. They're not going to give it their all. So like, it was the same way for myself. Like when working with all these different organizations, I saw that like I had a power in many of them. But then as I learned more and more, I had a passion, and my passion was bringing advocacy and, you know, and art. These are the two things that really like stuck out to me in healing. And like the healing came with the art part of the portion of it. And realizing, like, I think the number one thing that I learned about myself was how powerful my voice is. And that's not only because of the megaphone, you know, it's a lot of passion. Like that's what a lot of people know me for. I'm the megaphone girl. That's what people call me, which I love that name. You know, it's like I love that. You know, I think I should get I'm gonna make a little pin with it. But
very suiting for sure. Have you always been involved within our community, whether that's the Habesha community or the Tagato community specifically? Have you always found yourself in those circles?
I will honestly say this is something very, very new to me. Aside from going to church, aside from that, no, I wasn't involved in the Habesha community. There wasn't a lot of Habesha people that grew up here with me, but even when they did, I wasn't really involved. I felt very much of an outsider. I didn't speak Amharic. So it was something that like, you know, it was different for me. So it wasn't until this war happened, I was like, wow, okay, like, you know, I've always felt this attachment to my identity of being Tigrayan, but like that wasn't ingrained in me growing up, right? Like we always identified as Ethiopian, and I was happy about it. And
we didn't know better.
Yeah, we just didn't know better. But then when we did, it was like this whole other, like, you know, all these identities and all these things, a lot of things that I've heard started to make sense to me. And I was like, wow. But it was, you know, it wasn't because I'm Tigrayan that it got to like stand up. It was more so like, this is really humanity. Like my people are suffering. And because they were my people, like I put like more effort. But honestly, like the way that we're suffering is the part that like really makes me question why the silence. And we all know why. It's
we're just late to the party, but they know why too. What did you learn about other Tagatos through your advocacy?
What I learned about other Tagatos, I mean, I learned a lot about history from a lot of Tagatos in our community, something that I wasn't very well versed on. I mean, I grew up learning American history and world history, but, you know, world history in America completely skips over Africa. So I learned a lot of the history from Tagato in these, you know, spaces, whether it's Clubhouse or Twitter. And the articles that people are able to share, TEDx Times, the podcast, Uncle, shout out to Uncle, who's really educating a lot of us about Tigray's history and going back centuries.
I love that podcast as well. The engagement from the diaspora has been so inspiring, to say the least. But what do you think, or how do you feel about the engagement from the diaspora throughout the advocacy? What do you feel like our highs are, as well as our lows?
Okay, yeah. So, I mean, our high, I would say we're very, very good at working together. You know, like coming together, the way how quick we were able to collect one another and figure out who was who on social media, and like and wanting in the urgency to want to work together. Like, I was really amazed. I mean, I think many of us in the diaspora could say this. Like, I was connecting with people in Australia that I never knew. And the next thing you know, we're working on a project together to push out and, you know, bring awareness and advocacy and learning and educating one another. And I felt like, wow, the way that Tagato moved, I have never seen anything like this before. I didn't even expect it. I would say our low is I really, really want to push our community to network. And what does that mean? I know we are focused, of course, just as much. We should be focused on our those that we're electing into office, whether it's parliament, whether it's our governors, our mayors, and senators and representatives. It's very, very important. But I also want to urge our Tigray diaspora everywhere to utilize your neighbors locally. I've seen such a positive impact by doing so within my Tigray community here and utilizing NGOs. Many people just don't know what's happening in Tigray. It's not that they don't want to help, they just don't know. So once they do know, they will want to help, and you can work with them. And it also builds relationships. It's not only taking, it's also giving. You're being part of the community. This isn't just because the war is happening. This is something that's a lifetime friendship. So I volunteer, and by doing so, I'm building relationships. I'm learning from others. I'm sharing with others what I do know. How can we improve our local community? How can we take it at a bigger scale and go global? I've seen a very positive impact from it. You saw that we had our shipping container that was shipped out last May. Unfortunately, because Ethiopia's government has been blocking any type of aid from getting to Tigray, it never made it. But doesn't mean we can't do it. We're going to keep doing it, and we're going to do it with the help of our community. And that's not just only Tigray's, the Tagato community. This is our Kentucky community. And so I'm very happy to say that. So I really want to urge our community, at large, Tagato, like, network, learn what you can do for your community and learn what your community can do for you.
Exactly. We haven't had the pleasure of the global stage of news as much as this Russian-Ukraine conflict has taken over. Before it, we didn't have the media coverage. Now, most definitely, it's been overshadowed by the crisis in Europe as well. But we've been able to do our own part and still get certain bills in action and get the ball rolling.
S3199, we just pushed that out. We passed that last week. But essentially, these bills are to bring peace and really end this war and hold those perpetrators accountable. I believe that they should be prosecuted. Abiy should be prosecuted. He should be sent to the ICC just as much as Isaias and any leader that has been urging for this, and putting all those international countries such as Turkey, Iran, Israel, UAE, Somalia accountable for the atrocities that they have committed on the people of Tigray. There's nothing that, like, if anything, is that the people of Tigray, they don't deserve any of this. And I don't want them to ever feel like that. They should not ever feel like that there was something that was done to deserve some type of treatment like this, to human right violations to be committed. So these bills are essentially calling out those atrocities, preventing humanitarian aid.
The importance of the independent investigation is vital. That's how we prosecute them. That's how we make sure they're held accountable for all the atrocities that they have committed. That's why the independent investigation is so crucial. And we know that, they tried to block it and failed most recently as well. So as we said, looking for outside allyship, right? One avenue is art. As we go back to Tigray Art Collectives, which you're a co-founder of, your other co-founder is Gabrielle, correct?
Yes, Gabrielle Tesfaye.
Yeah,
yes.
Gabrielle Tesfaye. I love her work, love what she stands for. How did you guys create Tigray Art Collectives? Where did it stem from?
Yeah, where does it stem from? So Gabby and I 24 Hours for Tigray was hosting the College Genocide exhibition for the 1 year back in November. And I was one of the artists that was reached out to and to join, and I was helping out with the logistics and everything. And I was like, okay, like let's reach out to some other artists, well-known artists within our community. And Gabby was one of them. And I asked her, hey, would you be willing to donate one of your pieces? Next thing you know, we meet up for the very first time in DC back in November. And we just hit it off as friends. Like it was just instant. We had that connection, and we started to talk, and we started to brainstorm, and we realized that we had a very similar interest in wanting to use art to preserve our culture, traditions, our identity, and to bring awareness to this, because there were a lot of artists in our community already that were making art, and they were sharing it on social media platforms. And we said, why don't we create a space where all of our artists, and I mean, this is not only just painting, right? These are people that are interested in music, film, fashion, anything you consider art, poetry, writing. We welcome them. So we created Tigray Art Collective, and this is our way to weave through different artists in our community and our allies, because we're not only just keeping it to Tagaru, we want our allies. There are a lot of people that have been standing with us and creating art, whether it's music or drawings, and they see that, and it makes me really happy to see that non-Tagaru really are like understanding our pain and our suffering and wanting to use their platforms to do so. And so yeah, a lot of our artists are doing the same, and we're using this platform as a safe space for art, for creators to share their art, and as well as for us to sell prints and sell original art pieces. And by selling them, we're raising money for Tigray. So we can, and when the money that we raise, we're directly supporting organizations that are directly supporting the people of Tigray or the people that are in Sudan as well. So this is ultimately the goal. So through art, we're using advocacy. This is also healing for not only our artists, but our viewers. I saw the way that the College Genocide, you saw it, the way it moved people. It made a huge impact.
It definitely did. And within your platform, I've also been able to find so many different artists that I didn't even know were out there that are so talented and have such a story and a message through their art and their artistry. Again, whether that be poetry or art or graphic design, whatever it may be. So thank you for that platform. And I've enjoyed it. I've utilized it for sure. What is the biggest impact that you've seen from Tigray Art Collectives thus far?
I mean, how quick people are waking up to the art collective. People are seeing the different, like you said, the different types of artists. Like even us, Tagaru, like I was listening to a room earlier and people were talking about, we didn't know that we had these many like amazing, talented people. Me neither. We're exploring that. And we are very much alive, and we are very much here, and we're going to make ourselves present through art. And to see that people outside of our Tigray community is recognizing that, and they're appreciating it, and they're opening their eyes to the way that we are reinventing our identity is no longer as Ethiopian, many of us, and as Tagaru. People want to learn more. People want to be educated. So through art, we're educating, we're teaching people, we're bringing awareness, we're providing people ways of healing, as well as an outlet for people to create, really and truly, and like inspiring people to create. That's what I really want people to do. It kind of goes back to that mental health, finding ways for us to heal it, because that's something I did. Aside from therapy, I sought out art as my way of healing my ways, concentrating, taking that pain and channeling it in to create something beautiful, something impactful, something that people want to learn more about. Yeah.
Absolutely, and you're so talented as well. I want to say that much. My favorite piece by yours is the one with the hair done on the nail thing with the yarn.
Yes,
super impressive. I don't even know how that's possible.
Thank you.
The process in itself is like mind-boggling to me because I wouldn't expect that to be the end result. But it's beautiful. I saw it at the exhibition. I saw many of your pieces at the exhibition actually, and my other favorite is the one with the animation with Abiy Ahmed and Isaias in it too. That's one of my favorite ones. That went viral, as it should have. But will you guys be involved in the upcoming exhibition in May in Chicago, Wa'ala Tigray?
Oh yes, definitely. Yeah, for Wa'ala Tigray, we're in Chicago. We're going to be there. We just locked in our venue.
Your booth, yeah.
Yeah. So we're gonna have a table at the. Hopefully, we'll establish it still. We're gonna have a table hopefully at the Wa'ala Tigray, but we are gonna have an exhibition that is separate from the venue where Wa'ala Tigray is taking place. So we're gonna be in Chicago, in the city, and it's a nice little gallery where we will be displaying all of many of our artists' pieces, whether it's original, printed, and this will also give people the opportunity to come visit Tagaru. Please show up, and whether you're coming in from Canada, all throughout the United States, we'll give out the details. I'll be able to provide that to you guys. And also, this is our way to attract those that are in Chicago that are non-Tagaru. We want to welcome them, and this is kind of goes back to that, networking and really educating the communities that we're in. And that's how we want to see ourselves involved, is by taking up spaces and inviting people to learn more, see more, and, learn more who are Tagaru, like, who are we? We can, showing people things that are really piercing, because you saw a lot of the art pieces at the 24 Hours for Tigray exhibition, Call It a Genocide. And that was really moving. And we want to be able to do something very similar, and being able to tour all throughout the United States, all throughout Europe, and eventually, of course, in many other parts of the world.
Right. Networking, I think, is the highlight from our conversation today, honestly. You could tell somebody something over and over and over again, right? But until they're ready to hear it in their perspective and their wavelength, yes, it'll just lie on deaf ears. I think art is a really big avenue for that as well. So again, thank you for Tigray Art Collectives. Pass my thankfulness and gratitude to Gabrielle as well, because you guys are doing amazing things. NFT is something that I know you guys have dabbled in as well. If you could just lightly tell us more on that before we wrap up.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So we, Tigray Art Collective is taking, trying to follow the trend of where art is, and through NFTs, non-fungible tokens is what it is. Involves cryptocurrency and all these other different types of blockchains. I'm also learning a little bit more. Thank God for Mickey on our team, our NFT expert. But we're utilizing these different spaces, and this is once again goes back to networking. Right. That's our way of networking, because in the NFT world, everybody's in it. So we're creating, we have artists, like myself, I'm one of the artists, and Gabby as well, and several others. We're taking our art, putting it as a digital form on a blockchain, and we're selling it. And we're selling our digital art. And by selling it, we want to be able to take in revenue and then provide it to Tigray. This is our way. And while we're doing it, we're in these spaces where NFT gurus are in, right? And they're talking about, different types of, characters and whatnot. But we want to be able to draw people in. It's like, hey, if you buy this NFT, if you buy this art piece, you're helping millions of people who are suffering with an ongoing genocide. And then people want to learn more. They're like, wait, what? Like, what is happening? And then next thing you know, we're having conversations and people are waking up. And, our expert is, attending events. And this is by attending events and being physically there, we are taking the opportunity to get to know people. What are they doing in their industry? How can we utilize that within the art collective? How can we utilize that within our community outside of the art collective?
Right.
And I really look forward to learning more about how we can utilize these spaces and learn from other people outside of our community. How have other communities been successful? This is what we have to learn. The Ethiopian community has really rooted themselves in across Europe and the United States and Canada and Australia and all over the world. We as Tagato, we have to do the same. We have to work to where we're just as rooted. We need to make sure people know that we're there. It doesn't matter how small the population. As we saw, we are small in Tigray, and we're just as small in the diaspora. But guess what? We have such a big voice. The fact that we've managed to do this, we can reach a much wider audience through art and through different types of avenues. And like we're doing, we just need to do it a little bit better, work locally. And it also feels good too. Like I've been, engaging in community service. I used to do it in college. I didn't do it as much as an adult, and now I'm doing it again, not only just for Tigray, but for other communities. I've been volunteering for shipping containers for Ukraine. I've been to rallies, and by doing so, people see that you're present. They want to learn more. You want to learn more about them and like their suffering, and you realize all people essentially want the same thing. We just want peace. We just want to live peacefully. We just want our basic rights. How can we give that back? How can we restore that? For me, it's how can I restore that for Tigray? How can I restore that for when I talk about Tigray, physically in Tigray, the tagatos that are in Sudan and our Tagato community in the diaspora. This is how my mind has been working. So we're just trying to use all these spaces.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for joining me today. This has been a very fruitful conversation, to say the least. Before we go, I want to give you the stage to send a message to the people of Tigray that are currently within the region and in the diaspora as well, but most importantly, the people back home.
People back home, yes. Tigray, I'm very sorry. I'm very, very sorry about everything, all the pain that you have endured, all the pain that you're experiencing right now. I'm with you. I stand with you. I am here for you. I am here with you. I love you all very, very much. It pains me to know that something like this could happen to you. And the diaspora, we're working the best that we can. And I want to say thank you to all. You guys are all fighters. Not only our warriors that are fighting in the battlefield, but our civilians. You guys are all warriors. You guys are going through the worst thing that could possibly happen on this planet. And I just want to say that we will not stop. We'll not stop until you are free Tigray, peace for Tigray, justice for Tigray, and we are reunited. That's it, Tigray Tasir, 100%.
To that. And a final message for the international community that has for 17 months now expressed concern, expressed everything but taking action. What is your message for them?
Act now. Tigray literally cannot wait. The fact that it's taken, we're still waiting. We're still waiting. It's a disappointment. You've neglected 7 million people. 500,000 people have died already in 17 months. It's a shame. It's a shame. The color of our skin should not be the reason for you not to act. Africans continuously are neglected all over the world, as we see also in Ukraine, but especially in Tigray, all throughout Africa. And to see this, it's really disappointing. It really makes me upset. So for the international community, act now. For the international community, that is taking part in this war, we want you to end this and hold yourselves accountable for the atrocities that you're committing. And I'm talking about Isaias, I'm talking about Eritrea, I'm talking about Iran, Turkey, UAE, China, Russia, and Somalia, and many other countries. All of these people, all of these leaders, call themselves leaders, should be held accountable, especially number one, Abiy Ahmed Ali, illegitimate prime minister of Ethiopia. The people should not suffer like this. In the United States and all these other people that use this word concern, shame on you. Concern for 17 months is not acceptable. We will not accept this. And the people of Tigray don't deserve this. Nobody does. The atrocities committed, it's horrific. The fact that we have to see our families experience this, it's just mind-boggling. Just to even trying to cope with it has been very difficult for us in the diaspora. I can't even imagine what our people in Tigray are feeling, really. So act now, period. Act now. Like, the longer you wait, the more you will pay. And more lives will suffer. How many lives must die? How many lives should suffer through hunger, not being access to humanitarian aid? And it's not acceptable. It's really shame on humanity. And for those that said never again after Rwanda, to see what Tigray is going through, we, the diaspora, we will restore Tigray. We'll bring peace to Tigray, and we will not stop until we see it. So that is my message to the international community.
Thank you for that. I couldn't have said it any better. Mahdi, it's been a pleasure having this conversation with you. Thank you so much for coming here to TMH and using your voice, as powerful as it is. Continue doing what you're doing. You're an amazing, amazing person, but through your community and your advocacy, you're also known for the power that your voice has is far and huge. So continue the great work, and we couldn't be any more grateful for you and being ours as well. Again, thank you so much. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Where can they find you on social media if they wanted to engage, help, be a part of Tigray Art Collectives? Where can they find you?
Yes, find me on Instagram, Mahdi Lima, Mahdi MAHDI _ LIIMA, and the same is for Twitter. I'm on Twitter, Mahdi Lima, 2 eyes, and Tigray Art Collective. Shoot us an email, send us a message. We're also on Twitter at Art Tigray and Tigray Art Collective on Instagram, and on Facebook as well. And if you can't find me on social media, you'll see me on the streets.
Exactly. And most importantly, if you're going to Chicago this May, make sure you guys check out her exhibition as well. Again, thank you so much for joining me. Bye-bye, guys.
Thanks so much.
Hey, you. Yeah, you.
Did you mark your calendar from May 27th to May 30th?
Do you have plans for Memorial Day weekend?
Yes, you do. Bring your family and friends and get involved.
We have so many fun programs and events planned for you to enjoy.
If you attended the 2019 Wala Tigray Conference in Denver, then you know how amazing this weekend in Chicago will be.
Some of the things we have in store for you include our first Tigray's Got Talent competition, networking opportunities, critical discussion, and
a cultural fashion show where activism will meet fashion.
Book your flights now. See you at the Wala.
Come to the Windy City.
From May 27th to May 30th.